The episode opens up with Kiali returning back from Zelia to the Orville after visiting her parents. As soon as she's back, Kiali meets Kelly and reports picking up a residue of a Kalon quantum sign on her way, considering a threat. In the next scene, Isaac detects some electromagnetic emissions from a desolate planet named Naren 1. However, such emissions can be only made by a substantial population, so Mercer orders them to move closer to the planet. When they arrive near Naren 1, they scan and see that the planet possesses the infrastructure for communication. However, they're not responding. Therefore, Mercer, Kiali, Bortus, Kelly, and Malloy take a shuttle to the planet's surface. As they land, they see trees all over the land and confirm that the forest goes on for thousands of kilometers. Meanwhile, Bortus detects several hundred humanoids nearby, so the crew follows the signal. As they make their way towards the Sign of Lives, they arrive in front of a high school in the middle of the forest. When they step inside, they are trapped since the door behind them locks. Even Kiali's Zelian strength can't budge the door, and weapons are useless. So, the crew explore the school's hallways. Suddenly, the halls flood with typical human students, creating more confusion to the crew. They try to ask the students some questions. However, the students are bewildered by their confusion. Having no knowledge of where they are, the crew presumes they're in the 21st century on the basis of the school building's design. Back on the Orville, Lamar and Isaac try to contact the crew, but fail. Isaac indicates the shuttle is intact, but there's no trace of the crew. So, Lamar suggests Claire take another shuttle and land on the planet assuming the crew is injured. However, Isaac notes that it's not wise, considering that Mercer and his team vanished. Hearing this, Charlie lashes out at Isaac that they are not Kalon and should not be dismissed as merely lost commodities. Back at the high school, the crew splits up to get information about the planet. Bortus and Kiali wander into the classrooms, whereas Malloy is attacked by 3 bullies in the washroom. The kids order Malloy to pay money to Randall or else he'll have to face something malicious. Having no idea who Randall is, Malloy does his best to stall and ask for more time. Finally, Bortus and Kiali make their way into the washroom and help Malloy. Later, the 3 of them reunite with Mercer and Kelly. Upon learning whatever happened with Malloy inside the washroom, the crew decides to confront the mysterious Randall. At the end of the school day, the crew walks onto the school's football field, wherein a gigantic creature charges toward them. Turns out, Randall is a massive alien monster, brandishing an axe. The crew's weapons are once again useless, and Malloy is captured by Randall. Suddenly, Malloy's eyes turn white and glossy before Kiali launches part of a bench into Randall's face, injuring him. Soon, they escape. Later, Malloy describes the moment as his entire brain freezing and an out-of-body experience. Next, a door appears, and the crew wanders into a 21st century airplane, where Kelly notes it's an ancient vessel. The flight attendant urges them to sit and fasten their seatbelts as the pilots prepare for landing. Once the plane starts trembling, Malloy notices something's amiss since his pilot senses are tingling. Meanwhile, Claire and Isaac land on Naren 1, but all they see is a desolate wasteland. Surprisingly, there's not a tree in sight. However, they spot Mercer's shuttle. Elsewhere, the crew decides to take control over the plane and barges into the cockpit. Surprisingly, there are no pilots. Mercer assists Malloy as he flies the airplane. Suddenly, the engines fail and Malloy steers clear of a towering mountain range to land on the ground. After a bumpy landing, they perilously perch on a cliffside. As they exit the cockpit, they notice the plane is empty before entering the next open door. Next, they wander into a Moclan morgue, where Moclans lay their dead upright for 9 days so they can resolve their affairs on Moclus before moving to the next plane. We see a slew of pods seemingly suspended midair in a room drenched in crimson light. Suddenly, the pods open, and one of the dead wakes to grab Bortus by the neck. The Moclan chokes him and Bordu's eyes also turn white for a moment, until Mercer and Kelly save him. After the incident, Bortus remarks how he also felt the same sensation Malloy and Mercer felt with Randall and the crashing airplane. Back in the desolate land, Claire reports to Lamar to send a search party for their missing crew, but Lamar orders her to return to the Orville, as he doesn't want more valuable team members disappearing. Meanwhile, Mercer and the team move through the next door onto what looks exactly like Zelia, near a lake. They spot a bright light emitting from the other side of the lake. Just then, the team doubts if they are hallucinating because, if they were really on Zelia, gravity would be an issue. Soon, Kelly, Kiali, and Malloy row to the other side of the lake on a rudimentary boat, while Mercer and Bortus wait on shore. Suddenly, a massive aquatic monster abruptly drags Kelly to the bottom of the lake. Luckily, Kiali dives in and saves her. Later, the trio reunites with Mercer and Bortus, where Kelly recalls having the same out-of-body sensation as the others before losing consciousness. Afterwards, the team walks into a cave and discovers a holographic power generator with a vast projection radius and a shield. While Bortus neutralizes the shield, Mercer shoots it up with his weapon. Finally, the team sees they're standing in a desert, not a dense forest. So, Mercer reports Lamar, and the group heads back to the ship. In the next scene, Mercer and Kelly report to Admiral Halsey, who orders them to rendezvous with a science vessel so they can transport the generator fragments to Earth for experimentation. When the Union ships arrive, Isaac suspects something's wrong. He notes they're the Kaelon cloaking themselves as Union ships. Immediately, Mercer orders the team to prepare their defenses. Soon, a battle ensues, with the Orville bearing a lot of damage. Meanwhile, in a potentially different timeline, Kiali calls Lamar from her shuttle. She's still waiting for Orville to return and is in her shuttle at the rendezvous point for 3 hours. Shocked, Lamar mentions they picked him up hours ago, and she went to Naren 1 planet with other crew members. However, after their disappearance, Lamar and others haven't been able to find Kiali and team. Confused, Lamar asks Kiali to meet on the orbit. In the next scene, where Mercer and team are in a Kaelon battle, a massive Kaelon ship approaches the Orville. As soon as the Kaelon ship is destroyed, everyone on the Orville bridge freezes, except Kelly, Mercer, Kiali, and Malloy. Meanwhile, Kiali walks to them. Surprisingly, she's not Kiali but Dinal, a highly advanced being beyond human comprehension. Suddenly, Dinal snaps her fingers and the crew arrive at the desert. Turns out, everything was morphed and the T never really went outside the desert. Dinal explains that her people are immortal, so they conducted a series of experiments on the Orville crew to understand mortality better. Therefore, the team harbored near-death experiences in order to know how humans react and process death when faced with it. Dinal informs the group they were in simulation. It was an experiment and they were never really in danger. After getting back to the Orville, Mercer, Bortus, Kelly, and Malloy contemplate Dinal's experiment. Everyone discusses what they believe happens after death, while Mercer asserts if he had the chance to be immortal, he'd take it. In the next scene, Talia on Krill preaches the massive crowd that their current Supreme Chancellor is a false prophet. She stands vehemently against a peace treaty with the Planetary Union in a Trumpian speech that revolts the angry crowd. Also, she wants to win the elections and become the new Supreme Chancellor. Meanwhile, on Earth, the Admirals host Krill's Supreme Chancellor and President Alkizan of the Planetary Union. During the dinner, the Union discusses their upcoming treaty with the Krills and hopes that it prevents turmoil in the galaxy after destroying Kaelons. The Krill Chancellor agrees but wants them to sign the treaty on Krill in their capital. On the Orville, the crew members party in a simulation room in 80 seconds style. Meanwhile, Kelly and Mercer get a call from Admiral Halsey, who reveals the peace treaty is a done deal, and he wants Orville to transport the Union delegation to Krill. Soon, President Alkizan, Halsey, Spiria Balask, a Zelian senator, and the Union delegation arrive on the Orville for transport. Upon arrival, Halsey shows Mercer and Kelly footage of Telia trying to create a revolution. Since Mercer and Telia had been in an intimate relationship, and that Mercer released her from Union imprisonment, he feels responsible for her revolt. Later, Mercer and Charlie accompany Halsey, President Alkizan, and Spiria in their shuttle to the Krill capital. There, they meet with the Supreme Chancellor in his quarters while he keeps tabs on the election results. Suddenly, the group learns that Telia has won the election. Soon, Telia's minions barge in, promptly arresting the former Chancellor by order of new Supreme Chancellor Telia. Telia's guards also detain Mercer and the Union delegation and throw them in a cell. Meanwhile, the Krill ships lock in the Orville under Telia's instructions. We see more Krill ships appear and fire at the Orville. So, Kelly orders Lamar to enact Directive 21. Soon, they enter into the Quantum to escape. Back in the Krill, Telia stabs the Supreme Chancellor in front of the crowd. In the meantime, Halsey demands to speak with Telia, but the soldier guarding them refuses to relent. Charlie tells Mercer that they need to persuade the Krill masses that a treaty benefits everyone, considering the Kaelon threat. However, Mercer thinks it's too late, so they'll have to fight a two-front war. Just then, Telia summons Mercer to her quarters, revealing she killed her predecessor and beheaded him. Mercer tries to influence her by reminding of how he saved her from imprisonment, but it doesn't work. Instead, Telia reveals that she plans to execute Mercer and his colleagues in the morning. Later, Telia communicates with Kelly and orders Orville to depart Krill space immediately. Telia lies to Kelly that Mercer, Charlie, and the Union delegates are dead. Since Kelly doesn't buy her lie, she refuses to budge Orville. Afterwards, Kelly, Bortus, and Kiali check in with Admiral Perry, who reveals he's sending a fleet of Union vessels to help rescue the crew on Krill. Elsewhere in the Krill, some guards order Mercer to put on a cape, leading him through the marketplace. Soon, Mercer winds up in a mysterious home, which has a little girl inside. Turns out, she is Mercer and Telia's daughter, Anea, who is half human, half Krill. Since Tialea feared the child's existence will lead to scandal and destroy political ambitions, she has kept Anea hidden. Talia provides assistance for her daughter's needs, but never contacts her. Mercer chats with Anya under strict orders not to reveal he's her dad and becomes fond of her. The Krill soldiers tell Mercer that they still support the Krill Union Treaty. Also, they ask Mercer to introduce Anya to the Krill people in the hopes that it'll spur them to think that coexistence is possible, leading to a peace treaty. Before he departs, Mercer learns that Talia has spared him from execution, so he returns to her quarters to confront Talia, who mentions she was only returning the favor. Mercer informs about meeting Anya and suggests revealing her in front of the Krills in order to encourage them about coexistence. However, Talia opposes his idea. In fact, she changes her mind about sparing Mercer and throws him back in a cell. Later, Talia parades Mercer and his associates in front of the Krill crowd to execute them. As soon as she tries to stab Alcuzan, 2 Krill guards toss a binding agent into the air, distracting Talia and her crew. In the meantime, a slightly injured Alcuzan is rescued and taken to another ship by those Krills along with Mercer and the group. Turns out Lamar and Claire disguised themselves as Krill as per Directive 21. While Claire checks on Alcuzan's wound, Charlie and Lamar fly the ship off the Krill. However, a flurry of Krill ships pursue them. Next, the Orville find themselves trapped amid a brutal battle between the Union fleet and Krill ships. Thankfully, Lamar and Charlie fly their ship onto the Orville, so the Union fleet quickly enacts quantum drive and escapes to Earth. Later, on Earth, Mercer tells Kelly about Anya and wonders if revealing her might make her life miserable. Despite his brief time with Anya, Mercer tells he misses her. The episode ends elsewhere on Krill, where Talia watches Anya play with her toys, clearly longing to be with her child. Subscribe and hit that like button to help our channel grow. Turn the notifications on so you won't miss any of our new videos. Thanks for watching.